campaign been so far?
Really good. We have been running now for 16 months and we're in the final stretch and momentum is building and people are excited. And you always hear candidates say, we have the momentum, but I just realized the other day that's what I'm feeling is we've delivered the message enough that other people are talking about the message. And so it's kind of it gets to a stage of exponential growth. It's not just one group of people trying to send a message. Now it's a lot of people. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, and I know that campaigning is very tough, and you just had a parade today that you attended to, and it was raining, as you said
Mhm.
earlier. And sometimes those are just the things that you need to deal with, just like the weather conditions, whether rain or shine. You need to be out there, just getting the message out.
Yep. Well, my slogan is running like a mother, right? I have 6 kids and 13 grandkids. And so, as a mother, there's often times that I have to dig deep and do stuff that's hard or not ideal, but you need to do it. And so I'm running for office because I know what's on the line and I know what I'm
Mhm,
fighting for, and people need help and they need their government to listen.
mhm,
So, walking in the rain, yeah, that is not hard to do when you
mhm.
understand what's at stake.
And it seems that right now there's a lot at stake. One of the things that I've been seeing in politics lately is that we have two sides of this. It's like two sides of the same thing because we have Democrats and we have Republicans, but oftentimes it gets exhausting because we have people in office that you're campaigning against an incumbent, and it's oftentimes it seems that the incumbent's not putting the same effort in being out there, whether it rains or whatever it is, and it gets exhausting because now we get this same message that something's going to change, nothing ever does. But
Exactly.
for some reason, whether it be a Republican or a Democrat, like the incumbent always seems to have the lead, without really delivering on what they first campaign on.
They're not delivering on their promises, but they're also not delivering on the most basic components of the job, which is
Mhm,
show up, listen to the constituents, go to DC, fight for them, come back to the district and let your constituents know what it is you're fighting for, what happened while you were fighting for it, who is in the way. That's valuable information. That is their job. And where I am running right now, the man that I'm running against, Marlon Stutzman, is doing nothing.
mhm,
He's not here. He's not showing up. He won't hold a town hall. He won't meet with me. He won't have a debate. Nothing, because they think they don't have to. But let's go back to what you said a minute ago. You
mhm,
said that we have a lot of campaign promises, and that candidates, no matter who we vote for, nothing seems to change.
mhm.
And that's true. But let's for just a second, can we talk about why that's true? Because I think it's important for us to understand that until we elect real people who are in it for the right reasons, nothing's going to change on our behalf. So, how do you know if you're electing real people? The most simple way is to check their FEC filing and find out who is giving them money to run. And if somebody is running and their money is coming from big oil or big insurance or APAC or any of those types of places, or money that you can't tell where it came from, then that person, chances are, is not going to work for you when they get the job, because that money is not free. That comes with a quid pro quo. If
Mhm.
they give you money to get elected, then they expect to be able to place demands on you when you get there. So the only way that we're ever actually going to have a legislator that actually delivers on the promises is if the only money they've taken is from the people of the
Mhm.
country, because then
Right.
that's who I work for. Otherwise, sorry, they're too worried about keeping their seat. And
Mhm.
they think that the way to keep their seat is to get corporate money. I just think the way to keep your seat is to deliver for the people, because ultimately it's the people's power to hire or fire every time they go to the polls and vote.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially when it comes to Congress, it seems that people are always in an election because we have elections every 2 years. So every 2 years, your seat's up for election. So it seems almost like you can't really focus on getting things done because you're
Mhm.
always in election mode and you're always trying to win the next election. I mean, I know
Mhm.
that there's really not a chance that this is ever going to change, but can something be done about that?
Well, let's talk about that. Why? Because I looked at this myself and I was like, why is the term only 2 years? And the reason for that is because the job is so important. My job is to go to Washington, D.C. and fight for you, to be your voice when I get there, to stand up to power. And so if I'm not doing my job well, you should have the opportunity to fire me almost immediately because the job is that important. So I don't know that the term should be longer. I
Mhm.
just think that the people that we elect to those positions of power need to communicate more with the people that they are here to represent. Sorry
Mhm.
about the siren in the background,
No, you're
downtown
fine.
Fort Wayne. And so, what we need to do is elect the right people that will communicate because we know that in a 2 year term, you can't fix everything. But if
Mhm.
I go and fight for you and I'm doing, FaceTime videos to let you know what I'm working for every day and what I'm fighting for and what's happening, that communication has been missing. DC, the people we send to Washington, DC, for some reason feel like they don't have to answer to us anymore. They don't have to tell us things. So I can see where we feel like we're voting all the time and nothing ever changes. And how do they get anything done? But I just think we haven't communicated well with the people, and we need to do that.
Mhm. What what about term limits or what about anything? Yeah, I know because I mean it is true that we give congressmen, Congress people 2 years for them to be in office, and then after 2 years we could
We
have
can
the
fire them.
yeah, we could fire them.
Mhm.
But is there anything that could really be done about the fact that it seems that every other year, because you just don't get to election, and you just get
Right.
you
Yep.
just this get to see if you're going to keep the job or get fired. Like, you need to be campaigning, like you have like a year off and then you're on, because the election itself is about like a whole year almost.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. The way I look at the job is I'm campaigning every day from now on. I'm
Hmm.
campaigning to get the job, but I also am campaigning while I have the job. But it might look differently, right? I can't
Hmm.
be in district every day all day because I've got a job to do. But that doesn't mean I lose connection with the people that I'm supposed to represent.
Hmm.
And to me, once you get the job, campaigning becomes delivering for the people and communicating to them on the things that you're delivering. That's part
Hmm.
of campaigning because you, as a voter, need to be able to assess, is the person that I elected to represent me in Washington, D.C., representing me in Washington, D.C.?
Hmm.
Because if they're not, they need to be fired. Now, you mentioned term limits. We absolutely need term limits. I believe that, a Senate has a 6 year term, so they get two term limits. And so a representative in the House of Representatives has a 2 year term, so they can have 6 terms. Either way, you're there
Hmm.
for 12 years and 12 years max.
Right.
And why that's so important is because we need fresh ideas. We need fresh energy. We need to be thinking when we're in DC, who needs to come up and take my job from me? I don't want to be there all the time. I'm running because right now we need somebody to run in District 3 and run hard and give it everything she's got to stand up against the man who is our current representative, who just got a thank you letter from Benjamin Netanyahu for all the work he's been doing for Israel, but he's not doing anything for us. So in my mind, that's a breach of contract. You need to be fired. When a prime minister of another country that is currently committing war crimes sends a thank you letter direct and addressed and directed to our representative in Indiana's third district, there's a problem there because Marlon Stutzman isn't supposed to work for Benjamin Netanyahu. Marlon Stutzman is supposed to
Mhm.
work for me and everybody else that lives here.
So it seems that we have people that have an allegiance to Israel instead of the United States of America.
Mhm.
Or am I wrong?
No, you're right. We do. We absolutely have a problem with that right now.
Because you
And
can't.
and let's make sure we're clear. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about the Jewish people. I'm talking about the Israeli government,
Hmm.
right? The Israeli government is committing war crimes. But you want to know the truth? So is the United States government, right?
Hmm.
This is why we want to abolish the International What is it? What's the word I'm looking? The ICC, criminal court, International Criminal Court.
Mhm.
Our government right now wants to do away with it. The only person that wants to do away with an international criminal court is somebody who might be doing criminal activities and doesn't want to be found out or prosecuted, right?
Mhm.
What would be wrong with an international criminal court? Didn't we like what happened after World War II? Didn't we?
Mhm.
We needed to have those people brought to trial.
Yeah, it just seems that there's so many messed up things happening in government, and
Exactly right.
we're very, like being blindsided by everything that's
Mhm,
going on
mhm,
now. When it comes to Israel, as I said, we have people that have an allegiance to Israel that put Israel's interest before the U.S.'s interest.
mhm,
And how is that even possible?
mhm.
Like, how is it possible that you can't, like, your election could uh I guess be up for grabs if you don't have an allegiance to Israel?
Mhm.
Like,
Exactly. Yes, because APAC and PACs like APAC, they contribute so much money into campaigns in the United States. But remember, whenever somebody contributes to a candidate who's running for office, there is a demand that's going to be placed on that investment in your campaign. So now we have Capitol Hill full of legislators on both sides, right?
mhm,
Democrats and Republicans who have basically been bribed by the Israeli government.
mhm,
And does that make you feel safe? It doesn't make me feel safe,
not at
right?
all.
No, not at all. It shouldn't be that way. But that's what we're staring down the barrel of. You know, you said something a minute ago. You said there's so much happening right now. We don't even know where to look. It's hard
Mhm,
to see everything that's going on, and it's a little bit scary. It's infuriating, and it feels too big to address, but we can't give up. We can't give up.
mhm,
So we have to keep looking. We have to be willing to be uncomfortable to look at the things that we would rather look away from right now. Whether it's what's going on with Israel, the war crimes that we're committing, ICE on the streets, starvation, kids who can't get to the doctor when they need to. There is an unending amount of pain in the world right now. And in my oversimplification, it's because of the money that's involved in our politics and the greed of the legislators that we have in office right now.
yeah. And I mean, what could be done about like APAC and these foreign money?
So, twofold. First, we have to elect people who don't take APAC dollars, right? Because until we do that, we won't have enough legislators on Capitol Hill to change campaign finance law. So find candidates who aren't taking dark money, corporate PAC money, or APAC dollars, that type of stuff, and elect those people to power. And then when we get there, we can change campaign finance law to make it so that it doesn't cost so much money to run for office, so that normal people have a chance to step into these roles of leadership, to sit in those positions of power, so that it once again becomes a government of the people, by the people, for the people, normal people, right? But we
Mhm,
have to overturn Citizens United. We have to do that.
yeah.
Whether we do it from the state level, from the Secretary of State's office that determines what kind of power corporations have, or whether we do it from the federal level. But that has to be done. Basically, APAC dollars is foreign influence in our elections. And that just shouldn't
Mhm,
happen.
yeah. And it seems like it disincentivizes people from actually voting
Mhm,
because you go to the polls, and it seems that we have certain candidates that are receiving the PAC money that have like a bigger lead, that it just
mhm.
seems that no matter what, if you have a candidate that you really want to get into office, they are not able to compete at the same level as someone that's receiving so much money, because campaigning itself requires like so much, like so many funds
It
to
does.
run ads and just to be out. And
Mhm.
it's not like you could be also working at the same time as you're campaigning, because just campaigning itself alone takes a lot of time. So you need to be out there, and you need to even fund your own, like you still have responsibilities. You have like financial responsibilities that you need to attend to. So
Mhm.
someone that's receiving so much money, um, will have like a bigger lead that someone that's not taking any money at all. And sometimes it's even hard just getting small contributors to fund the campaign.
It is hard, right? And that's another barrier. You mentioned two barriers as to why our government isn't a government of normal people, by normal people, for normal people. One, we have to work, right? So
Mhm.
we still have to put food on our table and keep a roof over our head, and campaigns take a lot of time. Two, it takes a lot of money. But the way I look at it for a grassroots candidate like
Mhm.
myself, is you either a lot of people pour a lot of money into campaigns and then they don't have to do very much work, right? They
Mhm.
can buy the TV ads, they can buy the billboards, they can buy the yard signs, they can take out the full page ads in the newspaper. Money can bring name recognition. But
Mhm.
when you don't have all the dollars that, like, I mean, the guy I'm running against is worth $55 million all on his own. Now,
Yeah.
he was only worth 4 million when he took office. So somehow he's raised $51 million for his own
Wow.
personal financial statement, right? But that's what I'm up against. But he doesn't knock on doors. He doesn't go to parades. He doesn't call constituents. He doesn't show up to town halls. He won't show up to debates because he doesn't think he has to. And there's an element of truth to that because he has the money. So,
Mhm.
where I might not have the money he has, I am out there every single day. This is my second thing for today. And then I have one, two, three more things today. I'll be in front of three more groups of constituents of Indiana's third district today. Going to a dragon boat races. I'm going to a block party in the middle of town. And then I'm going up to an evening party up on a lake somewhere where there's going to be a whole lot of constituents, right? People that I
Mhm.
can meet. That's the
Mhm.
hard work of it. But let me
Mhm.
tell you something, being a representative is hard work. Once I get the job, it's still hard work. So if I'm not proving to the people now that I'm willing to work hard for you for no money for 16 months so far, how can you trust me to work for you in DC if I
Mhm.
haven't proven to you that I'll do the work here?
Right.
Right?
Mhm. And I guess not just going out and knocking on doors is one thing because as an incumbent, as a congressman, you might not have time to just go out there, be there every day, but just to refuse even a debate, that
Right?
almost, it's like you don't want to be questioned about
Right.
what you've done or what you haven't done.
And why? Why do you think that these people don't want to be questioned? Right? They know they have failed us. They know they're not doing their job. The man I'm
Mhm.
running against, Marlon Stutzman, goes to Washington, D.C., and he gets his White House approved rhetoric. And then he goes on Newsmax or he goes on Epic Times or he goes on Lindell TV and he spews whatever the president wants him to say. He has nothing else to talk about because
Mhm.
he's not listening to us. That's not the job,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Yeah. And listen, yeah, they're in DC, they're working, so they don't have the same amount of time. But guess what? I'm working here. I have a job here. I have a life here. I've got 6 kids and 13 grandkids. You find the time. He's going to be home now or should be home because Congress is out of session for the entire
Mhm.
month of August. So let's see. Will he show up now? A town hall now? Everybody's been begging him for it, but we
Mhm.
just don't get it, but it's because he's afraid of us. And he
Mhm.
should be afraid of us because we have real questions and we have real needs that he has been ignoring for the last 2 years.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, town halls and debates are very important, especially when you have both candidates up there and receiving questions from either voters or from reporters,
Hmm.
because you could see the dynamic. And I've
Hmm.
seen interviews,
Hmm.
um, just like solo interviews with candidates, and you could almost see the bias behind the questions, but you could really see the dynamic of the bias when you have both candidates there. If it's just one candidate, you are getting the questions and you can't really question as to how the questions are framed to make someone
Right.
look bad or make someone look good. And
Right.
sometimes they are framed in a certain way to make certain candidates appear better when they're the only ones receiving the questions in a one-to-one interview. If I'm making any
Exactly.
sense.
No, yeah, you're making perfect sense. But you got to be able in that moment. What I would do in that situation is call out the bias, right?
Mhm,
I'm going to give you 20 seconds of my answer time to say, listen, the way you framed that question is unfair. What the voters that I've talked to really want to know about is this. And so, just call it out.
mhm,
People see it. You see it. You brought it up here today. You can hear the bias in the questions. We need people in positions of power who will stand up to power, who will stand up to corruption, and will stand up to even debate questions that are trying to mislead the public.
mhm.
We need legislators we can trust,
Yeah,
people with integrity.
and that's what I actually want to see. I want to see these reporters being called out on their own bias, because it also seems that they frame the questions in a way that make the candidate appear good or bad. And I've
Mhm.
seen it on both Democrats and Republicans when they're asked certain questions, and it's annoying
Mhm. Yeah.
to
Why does it annoy you? Yeah. Why does that annoy you? Tell me. I'm curious. Like, I agree. It's
Mhm.
annoying. But as a
because
human, doesn't it feel kind of insulting?
it is insulting,
Yeah.
because with no matter what party you're from, if every question you're asked is trying to make you look bad, you don't really get a good sense of the person themselves, and that frames you as either a good or bad politician.
Right. But like if I was up there and they asked a question to try to make me look bad, and I said to them, that the way you frame that question is trying to make me look bad. But let
Mhm,
me tell you who I really am. Build from that point, right? It's just we don't have to take it lying down anymore.
mhm,
Stand up and say who you are and say what you're fighting for. If you don't have anything to hide, just be honest with people.
mhm,
That's what we're missing. We're missing honesty. We don't trust our legislators. And people listening to your podcast right now might say, how do we know we can trust you? They've all said this time and time again. We've heard this so many times. But remember, I have 13 grandchildren. I have 9 granddaughters. I really, really want them to be able to vote,
mhm,
right? I know what's on the line. I am not running for office because I'm looking for another job. I'm running for office because I think if we don't elect real people to these positions of power, we're going to lose this thing. And I don't want my grandkids or your family or anybody's family to have to live under a country that is less safe, less free, and have less opportunity. We need to build from where we are. And right now, we're going backwards.
mhm. And that's also another thing that happens every election, that people say that this is going to be the greatest election or the most important election of your lifetime. But 2 years pass, and it seems like we're back to square one, and now we're running another election that's the most important election of people's lifetimes. And it's this cycle that just makes people tired and makes
Mhm.
people not want to vote, because there's really no reason to go out and vote if it seems that every election is going to be the same message without anything getting done, even saying we are going backwards. It seems like we are, uh,
Mhm.
because we're definitely not going forward. Like, things are
Right.
definitely not improving.
But what have we noticed right now in the political sphere is all of a sudden we have this movement of really progressive candidates who are not taking corporate PAC money, who are refusing to take APAC dollars, who are running for the right reasons. I don't know that we've seen this many before. So
Mhm,
we should be excited about the fact that all of a sudden we're waking up and more normal people are running for office, people who refuse to be bought. And I hear what you're saying about everybody keeps saying this election is the most important election of our lifetime. And while I do think that this current election is very important, we need to understand that every election is important.
mhm,
We have forgotten that people bled and died for the right to vote in this country not that long ago. And so the apathy that we feel, the unwillingness to go stand in line and cast a vote because we feel like it doesn't matter, I want everybody to understand that if your vote didn't matter,
Mhm.
they wouldn't be trying to pass the SAVE Act. They wouldn't be gutting the Voting Rights Act. They wouldn't be trying to shorten early voting days. They wouldn't be trying to redistrict mid cycle. The powers that be that are currently oppressing us at every turn, that are stealing our tax dollars and lining their own pockets, they are afraid of our vote. They are terrified of our vote because they know they have failed us. And they know that if we all come together and refuse to fight about whether I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat or I'm a progressive or I'm a moderate, just stop it
Mhm.
and realize that the issues that we are fighting for, childcare, healthcare, education, affordable housing, making sure we have clean air to breathe and clean water to drink, these are not party issues. These are people issues that affect everyone. And so
Yeah.
we have to unite. If we unite, and if the headline on November 4th is record voter turnout,
Mhm.
we will have what we need in order to get what we deserve. But
Yeah.
this is on us as a people. We have to vote
Mhm.
always,
Yeah. I mean, if voting was that important, we should just make it a federal holiday.
right? I agree. Let's do it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Elect more people like me, and we will give you that day off because it's too hard to vote. In Indiana, you can vote from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on
Mhm.
election day. That's hard for families. You got to get up, get your kids ready for school, get your kids to school, go to work, and then make sure that you have voted before 6 p.m. That's
Mhm.
hard,
Yeah.
almost impossible by design.
Mhm. Yeah, and I know mail-in ballots could have like an issue on its own, but yeah, we should just make voting day or election day a federal holiday. I mean, if it's that sacred and important, we should
It
just go
is.
ahead and make it a federal holiday and extend voting hours.
Yeah. And the only reason that we don't have that is because there's too many people in power right now who know that if we come together and vote, they're going to lose their seat. But that by definition tells us they shouldn't be there
Mhm.
because that means they're not delivering for the people they promised to represent. If you deliver for the people, they won't want to fire you,
Mhm.
right? But instead, they want to control how people vote or when they can vote or where they can vote or make it hard for people to vote
Mhm.
because they want to stay in power because they make a lot of money there getting bought off by big industry.
Mhm. Yeah. Uh, and I don't think taking money out of politics is ever going to end. People are still going to, or politicians are still going to be taking money from corporations and funding their campaigns that way. The only way to really deal with this issue is to not vote for them and to vote for people that are
Right.
running without,
Right.
corporate funding.
So in that sentence you just said, who holds the power? The voter,
Corporations, or
right?
I
Well,
mean,
right now
right now
corporations
at this very moment, corporations hold the power, and
and yes, right now they do, but we hold the power if we pay attention. For everybody listening to your podcast right now, you can
mm,
go to opensecrets.org. Type in your legislator's name and it will tell you where they got their money.
mhm,
And then when you look at that, you will see, oh, they're not really working for me. They're working for Cargill or they're working for ExxonMobil or they're working for that shouldn't be. But we
mm,
now have the tools. We can go look that up ourselves and decide. We have APAC tracker, right? That goes on and they'll
mm,
rate candidates. I have an A minus rating. And the only reason it's not an A is because I've contributed some of my own money in this campaign.
mm,
And so that knocks me down a notch. Well, sometimes in Northeast Indiana, when you're running as a Democrat and you need money and you really care, you're going to cough in a little bit of your own money,
mhm,
right? That's okay. That just means I care. But with all the tools we have right now, there's no reason that we shouldn't know before we go
mhm,
cast our vote who has funded that legislator. Because whoever is giving them money, that is ultimately who they work for.
mhm. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I definitely agree. And the reason that I say that corporations hold all the power because especially for Democratic primaries when Bernie Sanders was running, and he had all of the support behind him, but somehow Hillary Clinton was still able to win the primary.
Mhm.
It it's like saying that voters have all the power is almost a mirage that
Mhm.
corporations are able to come in and give you the appearance that you have the power, that your vote matters. But it's not really that way because it's really who corporations back that matters, and that's why we have the huge issue that we're dealing with right now.
Mhm. Yeah, when you word it like that, it makes it feel like we're powerless.
Hmm.
So let's break it down for a second. The
Hmm.
only reason that corporate money matters in our elections is because that money is spent in two ways.
Hmm.
It is spent in advertising to prop up the person that they want to win, and it is spent in advertising to tear down the person they don't want to win. And that is what controls who voters go and vote for.
Hmm.
But now that we know that we have the tools to find out who's funding their campaigns, then that should go ding, 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 ding in my head. If you're watching, let's say you're in Northeast Indiana and you are watching a commercial, and that commercial says, Kelly Thompson is a terrible human. She hates people. I don't even know what they might make up about me, right? But then at the
Hmm.
very end, there's always a disclaimer. And that disclaimer tells you who paid for that ad. Pay
Hmm.
attention to that. Because if it says something like Friends of Marlon Stutzman, then you know that is just a targeted, cheap shot at the candidate that
Hmm.
he's running against. So
Hmm.
the only power that corporations have is their ability to influence voters. But if voters pay attention, if you go to opensecrets.org, if you do a little bit of research, and if you've had a chance to meet the candidate, then you really have the power. Corporations, dollars don't vote.
Hmm.
Corporations don't vote. Only people vote. And an
Hmm.
educated electorate will vote in its own best interest. It's
Hmm.
how do you get the electorate educated? And how
Hmm.
do you give them the truth? When anymore, it seems like who cares if anybody's telling the truth or not, right?
Hmm.
So we still have the power. It's just we don't know it.
Hmm.
We don't realize the power we have.
Yeah.
And we're so busy saying, I'm not like you, or I'm not like you, or you're to blame, pointing sideways, that we're never pointing up and aiming at the real problem. And
Hmm.
the real problem is the ultra wealthy and the people on Capitol Hill who are there to just line their own pockets and not fight for us. But I have to look every one of my 13 grandchildren in the eye.
Hmm.
I have to know that everything I'm doing will build a better world, a safer world, a freer world for them.
Hmm.
So there is no amount of money anybody can bribe me with
Hmm.
that will ever make me vote against their best interest.
Hmm.
And these are the type of people that we need sitting on Capitol Hill fighting for us.
Yeah. And I mean, I really hope that you have, like, all the luck that you could actually have in this
Thank,
campaign,
thank you.
and and have a successful campaign. And we need more people like that because we have so many politicians that don't have any interest in making anything better. They just want to have problems to be able to run on, without really finding the solution ever.
You're right. You're
Hmm.
exactly right. But we can change it. We have
Hmm.
the power to change it. But it's up to us to do it. We
Right.
have to vote. I hope that this election is record voter turnout. Just everybody go vote. That's what they're afraid of.
Yeah.
That is what, because they know there's power in that. But if we all go vote, we can change these things and we can get people in those positions that we need that will fight for us.
Hmm. Yeah. Totally agree. And where can people find out more about your campaign?
So you can go to my website at kellythompsonforcongress.com, or you can just Google me. I've done TV interviews. I've got Substacks you can read. I've written op-eds for newspapers. You can find me on all the social media platforms from TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all the places. Just Google me and you'll find out all about me. And please go to opensecrets.org. Look at where my money's coming from because it's
Mm-hmm.
only coming from people. That's the way it should be. We have just forgotten that.
Mm-hmm.
And listen,
Yeah.
If anybody's listening right now and they're like, man, we need her in DC, because here's the deal. Once I get to Capitol Hill, I'm not just fighting for the people of Indiana's
Mhm.
third. I become part of a voice that's fighting for all people in this country,
Yeah.
all normal people that are struggling right now. So if you have an extra $5 or $10 a month, I would love it if you would become a recurring donor and contribute to this campaign, because we are in this to win this, but it's
Mhm.
going to take some money to do it.
Yeah.
So dream big.
Well, great. I mean, it was nice having you back.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric.
Well,
Hopefully we do it again.
hopefully. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you, sir.
thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye bye.